What's up, guys? Kaz, Elevateyourcraft, and I wanted to take this opportunity to record episode number 26 of the vlog, and I've labeled it a useful structure, which is pretty ambiguous, but it's a way to, I guess, structure your workouts in a way that I've found pretty useful in my own training, sort of one that gives you control. It really allows you to understand your progress and make adjustments when necessary. And it ultimately gives you something to fall back on, but also work toward. Important general questions to ask yourself are along the lines of what criteria you need to meet in order to feel like you're making progress. So examples are, do I need to have a certain amount of strength? Do I need to try something new or challenging every session? Do I need to sweat? Do I need to complete a certain amount of exercises or sets, movements, etc.? Understanding these types of things and how they're unique to you will help you figure out how to maximize what you get out of each workout, and then just feel really good about what you're doing, which will help build your confidence and then benefit your overall mentality and exercise overall. For me, it had to do a lot with how I felt I was making progress. So it was important for me to try something highly challenging. So strength was a big thing for me. And I needed to establish a benchmark that I could work from. And this is partly how the approach I'm going to discuss came about for me. And so the way I normally structure my workouts now is within 3 progressions. So progression 1 is something that is comfortable and can be done with a modest amount of effort. And progression 2 is something that's uncomfortable and takes a moderate amount of effort. And then progression 3 is something that's uncomfortable, requires a high amount of effort, and relies on the first 2 progressions in order to achieve. So just to illustrate, a few examples would be in the push-up arena. It would be, say, the standard push-up, then the close push-up, then the uneven push-up. If it were pistol squats, say squats, it'd be chair pistol, press pistol, then the pistol squat. And then finally, within dips, you go to the straight dip, parallel bar dip, and then the perpendicular bar dip. So I've always considered the progressions similar to a spectrum. Even though we have points in which these progressions occur, there are plenty of things that we can iterate in between each step in order to cater to our own personality, our own capabilities, our own needs, and where we are within that progression. And this is really where the principles of progression came in. And it's kind of funny because I was thinking back and how I didn't come up with the concept, but how I applied it, I actually picked up on through piano lessons. So it was highly endorsed by my teacher, who at the time, she would make me learn something that was, well, essentially picking 3 different pieces of music. And it closely resembled what I illustrated earlier about, something that was fairly comfortable and I could play without a lot of effort. And then something that was a little more challenging, but still manageable. And then, of course, something that was extremely challenging, required a lot of effort, and I would very likely need to complete the first 2 pieces in order to play the third. So that way of thinking, that way of practicing, translated right over to my calisthenics training. And that doesn't mean that I avoid other variations completely or don't change things up from time to time. It's just a method that I use to understand and ground where I am. And it gives me a really nice view of the big picture while keeping it sort of engaging and fun. I mean, not so much these days. I think I sort of apply a structure, but it's more loose than I used to in the past. But as long as I'm somewhat within that framework, it seems to be really good for me, and I'm able to stay on track with where I want to be. And then, you know, as you get better, as you improve, as you get stronger, it just shifts. So, you know, going back to my first example, which is the push-ups, it would then move on to the close push-up being the first progression, the uneven being the second, and then you could go all the way to the lever push-up, or maybe even the kneeling one-arm push-up variation, something like that, where you sort of shift down the scale and you improve that way. And it was a great way to not only understand how to iterate each exercise, but it was a fantastic way to manage my training in a way that was just not only fun and engaging, like I mentioned, but was broken down into small enough pieces that I could achieve it. And, you know, if something was a little more difficult than I liked it to be, and it was still within that uneven push-up realm, as an example, then I would just modify my uneven push-up to mitigate some of the difficulty and then work from there. So it's also useful for establishing your structure on a smaller level. So based on which progressions I had established, I would often begin the routine, with the more difficult variations. And that's, of course, after warming up, but then regress to others in the tripod, as I called it. It not only provided a great way of working within your capabilities, but it was an awesome way to maximize how much I got out of the workout. It forced me to really push myself, and then over time, as I improved, you know, like I said, I would just, okay, what's the next progression in the chain? Is it within the realm of completion in the next while, or is it just way out of my wheelhouse? Do I need to, okay, you know, I need to say to myself, I'm being a little more ambitious. Do I need to wheel it back a bit and then find a third progression that's not achievable yet, but is within the realm of achieving if I complete the first two progressions? So I've found that to be an extremely useful structure for my training, and I still to this day use it a lot. And it's certainly not exclusive. Like I said, I don't stick to only those things, but I can always come back to it and say, you know, within the different arenas, push-ups, pull-ups, front levers, back levers, human flag, dip, whatever the chain may be, I kind of list out the three progressions of where I'm at, and then I can, you know, either start over or shift attention over to a certain area if I want to, and then really dial down what I want to do. So hopefully that's useful. Hopefully it makes sense. I thought I'd talk about that in this episode of the vlog. But that's it for that.